Ad Age Remotely. I'm Janine Poggi, Senior Editor here at Ad Age. And over the last few weeks, part of the big conversation in the industry has been all of these events that have been canceled or postponed, and a lot of businesses essentially trying to bring these events virtually to audiences in an effort to recoup some revenue and also keep, audiences engaged during this time where we're all working remotely and in isolation. And one brand that is doing this and attempting to do this, later on in April is a Girl Boss. And I'm here with Sophia Amorosa, who is the founder of the women's media company. And we're going to talk a little bit about what it's like trying to pull off one of these virtual conferences. Hi, Sophia. How are you?
Hi, Janine. How are you? Good morning.
Good. Are you hanging in there? Where
I am. I'm trying.
Right now?
So much smoke and mirrors happening over here. You don't know what's happening on the bottom.
No,
It's definitely
like
not.
Business on top.
Yes, leggings
On the bottom. Yeah.
Leggings on the bottom. Hanging out with my 3 poodles. The rest of the house. This is the one corner that looks good, which I'm sure is probably the case for everybody.
That's me. I said if you pivot my computer just like ever so slightly, you were going to see a bunch of toys. It looked like I could bring back Toys R Us in my house if I were to pivot the computer. So
you would really like that.
So you are preparing for the Girl Boss Rally. That was supposed to take place in mid-April, right? Obviously a live event bringing together, 1,000 plus people to come together. Not happening, but you are trying to deliver this virtually. So can you talk about what that might look like and how you're planning for that?
Yeah, so it was a decision we made pretty quickly, but it's also something that we've done some of. Girl Boss is both online and offline. We always have been. We have our digital network, we have the podcast, we have our newsletter, but then we have done the Girl Boss Rally. And to date, we've had 5 Girl Boss rallies, and most recently in Los Angeles, we had 1,300 women from 30 countries and 41 states. And we see this as an opportunity to bring Girl Boss and everything that we do and the incredible speakers that we program and the thought leadership and utilities and takeaways that we're so great at bringing to our audience, really truly to a global audience. We announced, I think about a week ago, that we were doing a global digital rally, and instead of charging between $375 and $700 for VIP tickets, we're giving it away because it's the right thing to do. It's the right time to do that. And it's global. So no one has to get on a plane. No one can get on a plane. No one. But we had 25,000 people RSVP in the first
already
few days. Yeah, in the first few days. And so we're anticipating a 10,000 person conference instead of a 1,000 woman conference, which is really, really exciting.
So why decide to go virtual instead of just like postponing the event for like later in the year?
I mean, I personally don't know when later is. I don't think any of us know when later is. And what we do and what we had planned to do in April is something that's more timely than ever and something that should be accessible and free. We're all struggling to figure out, what does this mean for the future of our businesses, especially anyone who's in the events business or hospitality or so many other industries that have been affected by this. So many jobs have been lost. So many small businesses are affected by it. So it's a time where the advice we would have given 3 months ago, the things that we'll be talking about, that we would have talked about 3 months ago will be completely different. And the response to what's happening was an important one for us to make in real time to bring those conversations to life as things unfold.
So what will Girl Boss Rally look like virtually? Like, is this going to be a lot of just conversation streamed, or how do you plan to keep people engaged?
Yeah, so we're going to have things like live poetry, performances. I want it to be really punchy, like something that isn't like, cool, we're watching 8 hours of webinars, right? But we want to talk about everything from self-care to supporting one another during these difficult times, to taking care of our mental, physical, spiritual health. I don't know, probably dealing with spouses and partners. A time of lockdown, managing your finances, marketing and branding, especially digital marketing right now, entrepreneurship. So everything that is relevant and it feels like everything's relevant right now. I feel like we're
There's a lot of unknown. No one really knows what they're doing.
grappling with
We're all
everything
learning together.
personally and professionally all at the same time.
Yeah. What platform are you guys using to host the conference?
We haven't determined that yet. We haven't announced it yet, but we're looking at a variety of providers. It's a lot of logistics, right? It's a very different event. We're not going to have a set. Like, I'm not going to be walking onto a set, even virtually interviewing
Right.
one person. Initially we thought, oh, well, we'll have like a home base where a keynote speaker could come sit next to you, Sophia. And it's like, no, that's not going to. 2 days later,
Yeah.
it was like, nope, can't do that. So this is really something new for us. So we're talking to platforms, technical video teams, creatives, like all of the above, to see like what is the right way to piece this together to make it a really great event, to make it Girl Boss, to make it something memorable and bigger than anything that anyone's seen.
Are there things you absolutely like don't want to do, or things that you're like steering clear of?
Um, I think it's important that it's engaging, like it's a two-way experience, that people are able to connect with both one another and to the speakers during and after the event. So that's something we're thinking a lot about, which is less traditional with live, but more traditional with social.
Right.
We really want this to be accessible. So this is something that we're going to make sure is available in every country, language, closed caption, so that everybody really, truly, this is truly accessible. What else won't we do? We won't bore you. That's the
Yeah,
main thing. It's like,
I think one of the probably biggest challenges right now is figuring out like how to even keep people engaged rather than like just sitting there watching, two people talk or something like that. Like, how do you actually keep a conversation going and get people to participate? And a lot of, I know, Girl Boss Rally has been a lot of hands-on things, and being able to like actually be with other people and network. That's a huge part of a lot of these events. And if you take away the personal aspect, can you bring that back in some way, or how do you make up for not being able to like network in that way?
yeah. We have a social network that we built, so
Yes, and
that helps.
that's pretty new. That's only
Pretty
what,
new,
almost
yeah. So,
a little old.
there's like a lot of women on there that we're going to be rallying before and during the event. We're actually launching group messaging on the platform in advance of the event. And in terms of audience engagement, there are things like polls and quizzes and interactive ways, even shopping, for people to interact and ask questions in real time, that we're thinking about. We're also thinking about how we can connect people post-event to break out into smaller groups, and we
Yeah.
haven't quite solved that yet. But I do think that levity and pacing is really important. That what works in a live setting isn't necessarily, like in a human setting, isn't necessarily what will work in a live video setting. And those are all the things that we're thinking about to keep things really upbeat and have humor, and still feel human in a world where most of us are viewing one another through
Right.
something like this.
A video screen, yeah. So you mentioned that this is going to be free. Obviously, in the past, you charge people for tickets. So how are you making up for the revenue? Will you have brand sponsors, and what will that look like?
Yeah, so we do have brand partners. We're talking to more brand partners. It's a really interesting time because I think every brand is figuring out how we shift our dollars to online, but in a meaningful way, in a way that's sensitive to this time, and doing that with brands and platforms like Girl Boss that are creating creating community and driving conversations that are important right now, is something that brands absolutely want to be a part of. So we're being creative with how that can look, and TBD on that.
What are they coming though? What are brands coming to you guys and asking for? Or, I'm sure there's, like you said, there's sensitivities right now. Like, what can you sponsor that doesn't look insensitive? What can you do, and what kind of messaging can you put out there in this type of environment? Just what is the dialogue like with some potential marketers?
Yeah, I think it changes every day. It's a great question. Um, wellness is a big piece of it. So how are we taking care of ourselves at home with not every product. I think travel's challenging. There's going to be certain categories that are probably going to take a beat for a little while, but a lot of brands are talking about meaning and stories behind their products and the stories that matter to them, the conversations that matter to them more than their products. So I would say that products, there probably won't be a lot of products necessarily integrated. I think it's a time where people are going to be really savvy and sensitive to that. We've always been really creative with integrating brands into what we do. We obviously can't do a pop-up shop
Right.
the way we could in the past, but maybe we can do a live game show that's also brought to you by someone and talks about something that is interesting and important right now.
Great. We'd love to meet some of your coworkers, human or otherwise. Is anyone around right now for us to say hi to?
Yeah, there's three. There's a
Three.
lot of people here.
They're doing a lot of work.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, let's say.
1, 2.
Hello.
Poodles.
Are they helping with the rally? Are they going to be part of the rally?
They are. They're going to be barking in the background when
Wow.
Amazon delivers, if I can ever get the button to work or them to schedule something. But yeah.
How has it been like just working remotely, planning this? Like on top of having to do the event virtual. Oh,
Yeah.
look at the cuddles. Oh, it's like working and putting it together in a remote environment with your team.
It's actually been great. You know, we've always worked remotely to a certain extent. We have a team in New York. Most of us are based in LA. We have an account manager in Chicago. We have a project manager in Bend, Oregon. And we all work from home on Fridays. And that's been awesome. So we work remotely 1 day a week. And I mean, Zoom is king. I guess, I don't know what, there's going to be like a new hashtag or phrase, but Zoom, Slack, what else are we using? Email. I'm using something actually my friend invested in called Tandem.
I do not.
It's a pretty new app and it's just audio, but you can basically just kind of like co-work with someone over audio and like not necessarily turn it off. It's a little more casual than something like Zoom.
So just you're sitting in a cubicle area with someone else that you can pop up and be like, hey,
hey, did you get that email? Blah, blah, blah. And then it's quiet for 10 minutes and then.
You have to be sure not to say anything embarrassing in that time. Remember.
Yeah. Remember that you're being listened to.
Well, thank you so much, Sophia, for joining us and happy to have you. Thanks.
Stay safe and sane.
You too.